Hello and welcome back to Hoi 4 Equestria under Princess Celestia. And in today's video, after covering the south and east, we move over to the central, to the castle of two sisters, the ruins of royalty. Hidden inside the dreaded Everfree Forest are the forgotten ruins of the former home of the princesses. It is a huge structure of stone and is almost completely broken down over the centuries. Once, Celestia and Luna lived there together, having established it as their capital. But those days of splendor ended when Luna was consumed by jealousy and became Nightmare Moon, who tried to slay her beloved sister. Much of the castle was destroyed, and Luna was banished to the moon. But Celestia was overcome with sorrow. She and the entire court abandoned the castle, leaving behind nothing but painful memories. The location is avoided almost entirely by the ponies, for it's rumored to be haunted by the dreaded Pony of Shadows. Those few who have dared enter the ruins have quickly become lost in the labyrinth hallways of stone, watched by statues of stone dragons eroded by centuries of rain. They will also quickly discover the numerous hidden passages and traps that Princess Luna had commissioned for her amusement, and possibly stumble upon the personal library of Princess Celestia, or what remains of it. The elements of harmony were hidden in the castle before Nightmare Moon's return, after which they retrieved the wielders of elements. In a ravine near the castle is a cave with the tree of harmony planted by the ancient pillars of old Equestria 1,000 years ago. It is a magical tree which controls and contains the Everfree Forest, and held the elements before they were used by princesses to defeat discord. After Princess Luna's return, there were some talks of renovating the castle, but the site has remained abandoned. The Everfree Forest, which it is located in, the untamed wilderness. Located south of Canterlot, the Everfree Forest has long been completely avoided by ponies. In fact, the only sapient inhabitants in the entire forest is Zecora, a zebra shaman who lives in isolation. The other denizens of the forest are far less friendly than her. Unlike in the rest of Equestria, weather and nature in the Everfree Forest are outside the influence of caretaking of pony kind. Clouds move on their own, gnarly and thorny plants grow without limits, and fearsome beasts stalk the shadows. Groves of poison joke and nests of adorable, ravenous parasprites lure the unwary traveler to their doom. Getting lost in the Everfree Forest is the nightmare of any pony living near it. Those who dare to travel through it do it as quickly as they can, and are prepared to fight for their lives. It is a magical and cursed place, and so far the advances of technology have provided no means to tame it. Ponyville! You know, the place the show happens in, mostly. Ponyville, located next to the Everfree Forest, southwest of Canterlot, was for most of its history a remarkable rural settlement. The first pony inhabitants of the area were part of the Apple family, who were granted the land as a gift by Princess Celestia herself almost a century ago. The first apple orchards were planted, but while the trees grew, the ponies discovered magical zap apples inside the Everfree Forest. The jam prepared from these apples became famous, attracting many migrants. Stinkin' Rich, the grandfather of the entrepreneur Filthy Rich, opened a market selling the jam, which soon grew into a burgeoning business. The Apple and Rich families still live in the town to this day and are honored as its founders. In the years since, many ponies have moved to Ponyville, making it a very diverse town. All three races are present and live together in harmony. It is for this reason why Princess Celestia sent her young pupil, Twilight Sparkle, to live in the town and make some friends. She and the pony she met soon became friends, and the wielders of the elements of harmony, who have saved Equestria from countless threats. After her ascension to Alicornhood and her defeat of Lord Tyrek, Twilight Sparkle now lives in the Castle of Friendship, north of the town. Next to it, she has opened the School of Friendship, which has students from all across the world. Despite its small size, Ponyville is known across Equestria as the haven of friendship and harmony. Yay! Cloudsdale, the city in the sky. There are several towns in Equestria which can only be inhabited by Pegasi. Such settlements are made out of the clouds, which only Pegasi can walk on and float in the sky. Cloudsdale is the oldest such place, and is regarded as the home of the Pegasi race. It is famed for its architecture and its tall pillars and high walls, made entirely from vapor and held together by magic. It also has the largest weather factory in Equestria, for Pegasi are responsible for weather management. The clouds, rainbows, and snowflakes in the city are distributed all across the nation. Another notable feature is the Cloudseum, where the annual Best Young Flyer competition is held. The city is also known as the birthplace of Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy, wielders of the element of loyalty and kindness, respectively. Canterlot, the heart of Equestria. Canterlot, the capital of the shining realm of Equestria, and the definitive nexus of the country. Walking down the storied streets and avenues that make up the prestigious city, you can spot the small, tall-tale signs of the 1002 Canterlot invasion. And yet, looking at the vibrant life in the cities, the cafes, the restaurants, the theaters, the parties, the stores, you wouldn't be able to tell. Canterlot, as with the rest of Equestria, has moved on, content in the idea that the changelings were a bad event, but one that will never repeat itself. Least of all, anyone expects is for Queen Chrysalis to come back. But whatever the history, Canterlot is and has been in step with the rest of the country. As Equestria grew under those first years under Luna and Celestia, so did Canterlot. When Equestria industrialized and grew past the years of medieval castles and nobles, Canterlot did too. When Luna was welcomed into the fold, it happened Canterlot, be it during the battle against Nightmare Moon, the battle against the changelings, or indeed, as it has been for most of its history, the vibrant capital of Equestria, the home of ponies and harmony, watched over Princess Celestia's gaze. Canterlot has always been a snapshot of Equestria and its conditions. But if you took up the railroad to Canterlot, arriving at the palace, you will find this curriculum at the School for Gifted Unicorns, the same as it has always been, and at galas at the Canterlot Palace, they stick to routines from decades ago. While it may serve Equestria well now, they are outdated for the era, and are overdue for overhaul. However, if a storm should hit, it would be a woeful one indeed. Time will tell what will happen to Canterlot as a new era dawns on the world, an era of opportunity, and an era of risk. Bales, the hidden city. Bales is an ancient city, one of the oldest ones in Equestria. Containing countless libraries and bookstores, it was known as the City of Wisdom. However, several decades ago, the bustling city vanished into thin air, and no one knew why. It remained a mystery until relatively recently. Princess Sparkle managed to find the hidden city and break the curse that had made it vanish. She learned that a wizard named Comet Tail, the Starry-Eyed, had cast a spell to protect the many books of the city from the harm. Because he did the ritual at the wrong time, it ended up hiding the city entirely from outsiders. She cast the spell at the right time, breaking the curse and revealing the city. The ponies living in it, who had become reclusive over the years, were overjoyed when visitors flooded Bales. At the present, Bales is the center of learning, trade, and book printing, producing ever more tomes, not only for its own libraries, but for all the libraries of Equestria. The yearly book festival held in autumn draws ponies from across the nation. Then we have Winneapolis, the Twin Cities. Located near the border of the Crystal Empire lie two settlements on the opposite sides of the river. The suburban town of Riverpool and the thriving city of Winneapolis. Both of them have benefited greatly from the recent return of the Crystal Empire from Limbo, growing even more as centers of commerce and industry. Many crystal ponies inhabit the city, and imports from the north are always on sale. Winneapolis surpassed its smaller twin Riverpool during the Industrial Revolution. Flour mills and sawmills powered by the rapids between the towns formed the core of the economy. Nowadays, the city is more reliant on commerce services, such as banking and transportation, being known as the gate to the Crystal Empire. Now we move from the center to the west, to the 3 cities closest to the changeling threat. We have Talltale, the Green City. On the southern bank of Tall River lies the city of Talltale. Despite its size, one might easily think it's a small rural town, thanks to the rustic buildings, many parks, and numerous trees. It is in the end an industrial city, as evidenced by the high grain silos and the car traffic on the streets. Talltale grew from a humble farming village to a proper city from the Industrial Revolution, yet it never forgot its roots. Being surrounded by farmland and having food processing and transportation's economic foundations. An important railway leading to Vancouver passes through the city and is used to transport countless bags of grain and other farm produce for export. The city is especially famous for its bread, said to be the best in Equestria. Notable sites include the centuries-old Tall Bridge, the Farmers Market in the central square of the city, and the Museum of Agriculture. The yearly Harvest Festival attracts tens of thousands of visitors each year, thanks to its generous offerings of delicious baked goods. Tasty. And we got Vancouver, the saltwater city. Located in Luna Bay, Vancouver contains an excellent natural harbor, and has thus long been a vital port city. Founded on the ruins of earlier settlement, which had been destroyed by Hellenian Vikings, it grew into an important trade port even before industrialization, being located near the mouth of an important river as well. After the Industrial Revolution, the city grew even more, becoming a vital base of the Equestrian Navy and a center of shipbuilding. It is a terminus of the Transcontinental Equestrian Railway, and its port is among the largest in the country. Its primary trade good is lumber, imported from the Vaver Fort across the Luna Bay, but in recent years the service sector has continued to grow. Many movies are filmed here, earning it the nickname Applewood North, and numerous tourists come there from the south to enjoy the cold weather. A large portion of the populace consists of Hellenian deer, who work on the docks or sell their wares at the markets. There are even some changelings living in the city, though they are viewed with suspicion by the rest of the inhabitants. In recent years, the countless dock workers and sailors of the city have unionized and now agitate for better rights. There are rumors that they receive support from the Supreme Soviet of Stalingrad, but it is not known if this is true. And we have Acornage, the city of 2 races. Since its foundation, the city of Acornage has been defined by its relations between ponies and changeling. Indeed, the first encounters between the root races occurred in near Fort or Acorn, the predecessor to the city itself, that was founded by equestrian settlers who colonized the uninhabited wilderness of northwestern Equestria. Different sources explain the nature of these outcomes differently. According to equestrian historiography, it was cautious but ultimately friendly, as ponies present gifts to the strange shape-shifting creatures. Traditionally, changing records do not mention gift, but during the reign of Queen Chrysalis, history has been reinterpreted, and the encounters are seen as hostile and even violent. Whatever the case, the fort soon became a trading post and then a town. It was the only place in Equestria where ponies could acquire finely woven changeling silk. So commerce boomed and thousands of migrants arrived. Changelings arrived in the city as well, initially living in separate quarters, but soon integrating into the populace, often shape-shifting into ponies to fit in better. Acornage was, and still is, the one place in the world where one can see a changeling hive spires next to traditional equestrian homes. When the changelings were unified under one nation in 982 ALB, the border of the newborn country was drawn next to the city. Equestrians agreed to Chrysalis' demands, thinking it would be the foundation of a friendly relationship between the two nations. They would later regret this when relations soured, and the complete lack of buffer zone made the city strategically vulnerable despite the rising tensions. The business of the city continued as usual, with the local changelings and ponies remaining in friendly terms. This changed in 1002 ALB, when Cantrell itself came under attack. The treacherous stab in the heart of Equestria shocked every pony, especially the inhabitants of Acornage. Overnight, the mood in the city had changed, and many saw changelings as unreliable and a potential fifth column. Racial harmony was replaced with racial tension, and thousands of fearful changelings fled the city across the border. After the initial harsh reactions, the situation calmed as Crystallis licked to rooms in Vassalpolis. There was an attempt at making amends, but most citizens felt like there was no going back. Yet deep in their hearts, the inhabitants of Acornage know that their home city is proof that changelings and ponies can not only get along, but be true friends with one another. Now, let's take a look at our puppet state up here. Crystal Empire, the beating heart. One of the largest cities of the world, it is often said that without Crystal City, there would be no Crystal Empire. It is a massive urban area inhabited by millions of crystal ponies. It is a center of culture and industry. However, before 1002 ALB, it did not even exist. For over 1,000 years ago, Crystal City was founded as the capital of the empire, ruled by Princess Amor, the first ruler. Back then, the annual tradition of the Crystal Fair was established, and the magical Crystal Heart discovered. Together, these two kept the pony spirit high and protected the city of Umbrum and the cold north. But then King Sombra slew the princess and seized power, forcefully moving much of the populace into the city to work as slaves. Equestria intervened, and before his defeat, Sombra cast a curse on the empire, making it disappear for 1,000 years. After the end of the curse and the return of the city, the locals have had this difficulty adapting to modernity. But thanks to Equestrian aid and the rulership of Princess Cadence, the city is industrializing quickly, with cars driving on the shining crystal streets. Notable sites of the city include Crystal Castle, home of the royalty, which houses the Crystal Heart, the Amethyst University with its grand library, the famed spa, and lastly, the huge Crystal Stadium, built for the Equestrian Games, which were held in the city in 1003 ALB. Now let's look far to the east, to our land. That is our puppet. Down our only landing in Griffonia. We move over to the island of New Manhattan, the Sapphire City, home of millions and the largest city in New Maryland. New Manhattan has the same statue as their larger overseas namesake. Founded as the second colony after sunset, she has kept their desire for new migrants, opening her doors for all those who seek to leave their own lives in Equestria behind. Ponies from all Equestria mix in the crowded city, surrounded by skyscrapers placing the sky. You can hear the heavy Serverian dialect of the refugees from Stalingrad, the southern accents of those Appalachians searching for fortune, and with luck, even the many Griffonian and Zebrican languages mixed in. New Manhattan is a melting pot of all willing work for their future, and one can find blends of music mixing different local styles and restaurants serving food from all over. The city is well known for its harbor, which is bursting at the seams, bringing in migrants and exporting vital resources back to Equestria, or further into Griffonia. Massive steel mills provide employment for many in the working class, while those with penchant for trading might try their luck in the crystal trade. Most recently, East Side Borough has seen the most development. The city authorities are on an ongoing bureaucratic battle to have this part of the city, which fell outside its bureaucratic bounds, added to its administration. Out of the Great Depression settling in, even New Manhattan cannot provide for it all anymore, and soup kitchens now fill the place of closed-down shops. Socialists, fascists, and capitalists all recruit from the poor and newly arrived, and sometimes vicious brawls ensue between supporters of different politicians. We have Sunset, the Bush capital. Many centuries ago, the site of this city that would come to be known as Sunset was little more than a windswept, barren bay embedded in the southwestern tip of Griffonia. Subsequent decades of continuous Equestrian immigration would see that change. The Pegasi would eventually tame the local climate as Earth Pony and Unicorn settlers colonized among the coastline. Named after the Epiponus, founder of the city, Sunset Horizon. Sunset is the current day is bustling metropolis, recognizable by landmarks such as the Sunset Harbor Bridge and the nearby Opera House, where the city is blessed with an expansive deep-water bay. Buckwedgie Island, situated in the middle of the city's harbor, serves as the staging base for Equestrian's Navy. Griffonia Station. A robust maritime infrastructure facilitates the passage of seaborne trade between the two continents. The harbor is usually filled with all sorts of seafaring craft. The equestrian architecture of the city is colored with distinct Griffonian influence, where slender towers reminiscing of the Canterlot skyline sport the overhangs and archways characteristic of avian-built designs. In the suburbs of Metropolis, this blending of architectural traditions becomes much less refined. The poverty and scarcity of the city populated predominantly by New Maryland's Griffin minority, leads the city's poorer neighborhoods. There has haphazard mishmash appearance of slums all over the world. And just to give you some context to what happened to the situation up here, I'm going to go and read these ones as well. The window to the east. Throughout its history, the port of Petershof has been Severian gateway to the world and occasionally functions as its capital. Named after the mythical ruler of pre-equestrian Severina, Tsar Peter, it is a major shipping port and shipyard and a center of commerce. From this strategically important warm water port, the resources and goods produced inland are shipped abroad. Despite two revolutions, the Industrial Revolution and the Winter Revolution, the city retains its classical look, especially in its historic city center. With most buildings made of brick and stone, countless monuments dot the city, the most notable one being the Bronze Horse, a statue depicting Tsar Peter himself. On the outskirts of the city are more modern apartment blocks and industrial factories. Alongside Princeton, now known as Stalingrad, Petershof was another major center of resistance which sparked the Winter Revolution. The sailors in the city and naval base mutinied and revolted against the princess's rule and seized control of the city with the help of the factory workers, joined the newly formed Soviet Republic afterwards. There have been talks of demolishing the monarchist monument of the city, but their cultural and historical value has so far been deemed too significant. We also have Stalingrad itself, the home of the revolution. Originally, Stalingrad was known as Princeton, the capital of the northeastern Severian region. It has been a relatively small town before the Industrial Revolution, when the abundant natural resources of the region allowed it to grow massively. Within centuries, it was the largest cities in Equestria. A thriving center of industry, always covered in thick smog, especially during the cold winter. Yet the growth of the city had a dark side. Its workers were mistreated, and discontent grew. Due to its distance from the capital, Princess Celestia remained unaware of the tensions before it was too late. The workers revolted, inspired by the writings of Caramel Marx and led by Steel Stallion, and succeeded from Equestria in the Winter Revolution. After Steel Stallion died from illness, the Supreme Soviet named Princeton in his memory to Stalingrad, which remains the city's name to this day. Nowadays, Stalingrad is a proletariat city, with many remains of the capital erased. Gone are the houses of merchants, the markets and the shops, the colorful adverts, the luxurious cars. It is now exclusively the city's smokestacks, factories, apartment blocks, machines, cogs, smokes, and steels. In the center stands the imposing Palace of Soviets, a grand project that has been years in the making, a testament to the industrious and ambitiousness of the Stalingradian proletariat. And we have Starlight Town, the birthplace of equalism. Formerly known as our town, and sometimes known as the town with no name, Starlight Town has since struggled to find a fitting name for itself. Its founder, Starlight Glimmer, built the first houses of this town with her followers. She'd gather a small but loyal following with his fiery speech, a desire to make her dreams a reality. One day she gathered her followers and traveled past Stalingrad. There she had received a small amount of land in a dry valley from the Supreme Soviet, who tolerated her radical ideology, equalism, and were sympathetic to her cause. Using her magical powers, Starlight Glimmer forcibly removed the cutie marks of her followers, erased their talents, and making them perfectly equal. No one was superior in our town, and everyone behaved almost identically. Yet in secret, Starlight kept their cutie mark and acted as the town's firm leader, who ruled with an iron hoof. The equalist experiment came to an end when the wielders of the elements discovered the town and unveiled Starlight's secrets. They revealed the hidden vault where the magically extracted cutie marks were hoarded by Starlight. When the inhabitants had realized their leader was a fraud and saw how much happier ponies with cutie marks are, they lost faith in equalism and drove Starlight out of the town. Nowadays, the town is a peaceful and pleasant place, with every pony being proud of their talents. The Sunset Festival is held every year, and a tree grows where Starlight's house once stood. And yeah, that is all of the the things read. But yeah, that's gonna be this episode. In the next episode, we'll begin playing the playthrough. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.